Have you forgiven them for being racist toward blacks?
It's difficult to forgive someone if they don't apologize. And racism is not something to forgive. It's something to change. You know, in today's society, there's so much subliminal messaging. Like the other day, I turned on a cartoon for my child, and they depicted the devil as a black man. And I was like, what? We know that the devil is made out of fire. That's what, and this was an Islamic cartoon. There's this subliminal messaging that shows black as less. And that's a big problem because God created us all. In fact, Adam was black. He created him out of
Adam
soil, out
was
of clay.
black.
He was black.
Did
Yes.
he have a fro?
Hello and welcome back to the page. I'm your host, Ashriel Moore, the ambassador of the African Diaspora Collective right here in Israel. So today I want to share with you all a pretty interesting video that I came across. It was a conversation between this woman called Aziza, who's an Arab Muslim woman, who apparently she gives advice, I guess, to Muslim women about relationships, about sexual intercourse and all of those things online. But then she was having a conversation with Jesse Lee Peterson. Now, in this conversation, it was interesting because the conversation was quite long, but a big chunk of the conversation was actually focused on something very interesting. She married a person of African ancestry, as I refer to him. She refers to him as a black person. And she had problems. Well, he never met her family, first of all. And the reason why was because her family were absolutely against it. I mean, they had no desire for her to marry a person like this. And the reason why simply was because of the color of his skin. But not only because of the color of his skin, they had shared with her some deeply ingrained racist and bigoted comments and reasonings for them not supporting her marrying her husband. And she took the opposite approach, said, okay, well, I'm still going to marry him. And she gave all the reasonings in there. But I think it was a very interesting discourse that I want us to, first of all, listen to. And then I'll share a bit of my thoughts about this afterwards. I'm not going to interrupt the video, so we'll be able to watch it all the way through.
My father did not approve of my marriage to my husband.
And why
My
not?
father, yeah, because he's black. So there's a lot of racism in the Arab, like I said, the culture. Islam says no black man is better than an Arab man. No Arab man is better than a black man. But my father and my mother were adamant against, no, he's black. No, they didn't even give him a chance. They didn't meet him. They didn't, give him an opportunity. And that hurt. But when something is wrong, it's wrong. So you got to stand up against it.
If you were close to your father and mother, why would you marry a black man instead of your own race?
Because I didn't grow up in my own country. So I grew up in different places, but God says we're all equal. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter the language you speak, doesn't matter who gave birth to you, doesn't matter how you grew up. If God put people together, there's a reason for us that we're together. And God introduced me to this man. And like I said, I had respect for him. I admired him before I fell in love with him. I liked who he was as a man. And that made me attracted to him. And I've worked with a lot of communities. I've seen a lot of men. This man was something different. And I feel that God put something in my heart that told me this is my life partner.
And so, but you're not allowed to take him to your family and all that kind of stuff?
I haven't attempted to take him to my family. If my family is racist until they correct their behavior, then that's a bridge that we have to cross when they correct that behavior.
How many children do you have?
Excuse me?
How many kids you have?
I have one and one on the way. Inshallah.
Amazing. A boy or a girl?
I have a girl, and I don't know who's coming.
The first
And
one was a girl?
before we go on, I just want to say, my mom actually tried to introduce me to a lot of Arab men before I married her, and it was through arranged type of situations. And she's like, this guy or this guy or this guy. And my conversations with them just made me realize they weren't the right partner for me, and so it didn't work out. It wasn't that I said, nope, I'm going to go marry, it was just God wrote it. And I was a very open person. If my mom brought someone, I gave them a chance. I was like, let me talk to them. When I brought a black man home, I didn't even bring him home. I brought the idea of bringing a black man home, and they're like, no. And I was like, what? That's not Islam. That's not what that's not what you raised me on. So.
I guarantee you the reason you married a black man because they were against it. And you
I didn't know they were again. I was
And you-
actually very naive, you know. I told, because my mom always said she wanted me to marry, you know, like I think my mom felt like I was a very outgoing person. I had friends from different nationalities, different backgrounds, different races. So she was afraid that I would marry someone that wasn't from my country.
Yeah.
And I told her, you know, like, no, you know, bring whoever. And every single person she brought just wasn't a good match.
Have you forgiven them for being racist toward blacks?
It's difficult to forgive someone if they don't apologize. And racism is not something to forgive. It's something to change. You know, in today's society, there's so much subliminal messaging. Like the other day, I turned on a cartoon for my child, and they depicted the devil as a black man. And I was like, what? We know that the devil is made out of fire. That's what, and this was an Islamic cartoon. There's this subliminal messaging that shows black as less. And that's a big problem because God created us all. In fact, Adam was black. He created him out of soil.
Adam was black.
He was black.
Did
Yes.
he have a fro?
I don't know, but he was black. And this idea, you know, like there's a lot of whitewashing in history, especially in the Muslim community, where they don't recognize that a lot of prophets were black. They don't like, even you, when I was like Muslim, you thought like the beard, you know, Arab, like it's hard to believe that there's Muslims that are from different backgrounds, but actually the largest number of Muslims in America are black. They're not brown, they're not Arab.
Don't tell me that. There's no such thing as racism. You said race. Oh, I want to ask two questions about that. Number one, why do the Muslims hate the blacks so much?
Again, it's not Muslims because there are black Muslims.
The Arabs.
Right? The Arabs hate the blacks.
Why?
And it's because of colonization. It's because of ego. It's thinking someone is better than someone else. It's years and years and years of telling yourself white is better than black. It's just a whole bunch of garbage. It's not based on anything.
Why do the blacks hate the Arabs so much?
I don't know any blacks that hate Arabs.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that one.
The same blacks that hate the whites.
I can't talk to something that I don't know about. That's how I'll answer that.
Why do people believe racism exists? Why do you believe it?
Because I've seen it.
But
What
does it look like?
I didn't understand it until I was married to a black man, and I saw how people treat him and how they treat me.
What does racism
I'm not
look
even
like?
white. Like, look, I'm a Muslim woman, and there's some biases that come with looking the way I look. But I had seen real, like, horrible things that my husband went through simply because people look at him and judge him based off the color of his skin. And he's an amazing man, big
How do
heart.
you know that's why they look at him? How do
Because-
you know they're looking at him because of the color of his skin?
Because they say it.
They say I'm looking at you because of the color of your skin?
They say things like, for example, my father told me, all black men will leave their wives. This man will leave you. My mother told me all black people have AIDS. Like, those things are not true, first of all. And
But
that is a
not
belief that they
racism.
have.
That's not
based-
racism.
What is it?
Hatred.
Hatred.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. That's hatred.
No, it's
Hatred
not.
towards a skin color.
Hatred is evil. It's the nature of the devil, right? Racism is a made-up word to cover up hatred so that the devil can do his work. But our battle is a spiritual battle. It's a warfare between good and evil inside of us, our imagination, and outside of us, inside of others. And most people don't have love because they love the hell. And so they are like against you because they hate you, not because they're racist. They have wicked hearts and no love.
Okay. I can agree with you on that.
So after watching the video, right, the question may come up, okay, Ashria, what are we looking to accomplish here? What is the purpose of sharing these type of videos, people sharing this type of information? I mean, yeah, we know there's racism in the world, we know there's bigotry, but what are we looking to accomplish here? So let me explain to you. When we speak about people of African ancestry reside here in Israel and in this area, most people who are not residing in this area or who've never really lived amongst the peoples who reside here will never be able to understand why do we have a different worldview and a different outlook compared to people from the West, for example, right? Because in the West, in America and Europe and other places, they give the impression, Arab peoples, I'm speaking specifically about them, that there is an inherent relationship between black and brown peoples, as they call it, right? Wherein we both have experienced colonization and racism and discrimination and oppression and degradation, all of these heinous things at the hands of a common oppressor, at the hands of a common people, which would be, in that case, the European people, who have dominated the entire planet for hundreds of years. Arab countries, African countries, European countries, I mean, wars and pillaging and overthrowing and looting and dominating the natural resources and all these things. We know about those things. And if we ask, who has been one of the main corporates, then we were talking about the European powers who've been doing these things for hundreds of years. So in the West, people will get the impression, okay, well, that means that black and brown people, as they refer to them, should unite because we have this common enemy. And so we should work together for a common purpose and a common cause. And it sounds good on that end. But when you bring it to the society where the majority of the population are people of Arab descent, then you get a different picture altogether. Then you really see how not only people paying lip service to the outside, but how they're actually acting towards people of African ancestry within these societies, how they actually feel about people of African ancestries who are within their society, because now they're the ones who are in power. They're the dominating forces. They're the ones who are carrying out all of the other heinous things that we've just mentioned, the degradation, the imperialism, the colonization, the oppression of people of African ancestry in this region. I mean, you look at all of the North African countries, clearly they're colonized at the moment. You look at how people of African ancestry are being treated in the Gulf states. Clearly, they're being oppressed. They're experiencing racism. They're degraded. They're treated as second-class citizens or non-citizens at all. And you try and understand, okay, well, how is that even possible if we should be working together? Well, all that means is that the main purpose of these peoples is not to actually join forces for the greater good of both of the parties. The main purpose is to actually join together so that we could be able to get a good back-end from people of African ancestry against, we do have a common enemy, but at the same time, it's not for the purpose of rising everybody, but it's to dominate as well. So they would like to be the dominating power, simply to exchange the current dominating powers, but not to enhance, right, the current conditions of people of African ancestry. So they're taking advantage of that. And at every juncture, you see that actually happening. For example, you saw that happening in America in the most recent elections, when people of African ancestry planned to vote for Kamala Harris. Beforehand, it was all good, right? Because a significant amount of them were on the Free Palestine bandwagon. But then when it seems like people of African ancestry were actually taking their own destiny into their own hands and planning to make moves which they feel are in their best interest, and they're clashing now with the interests of Arab peoples within the land, then it became a problem. And it's not about religion, because if I'm not mistaken, the greatest amount of Muslims in America are actually people of African ancestry. So that has nothing to do with it at all. I mean, there's a significant amount of Muslims of African ancestry worldwide right now. So that's not what it's about. But it's about a dominating, an imperialistic outlook and viewpoint from the peoples who are actually claiming to be experiencing these same things at the hands of another oppressor. And so it's just a matter of their desire to exchange or to replace that oppressor, not to change any of the conditions. And so most people won't understand then why people of African ancestry on this side of the world are talking against that, or not for joining hands with these peoples, are not really looking at it as a union, right? That is one that was made in heaven. But they're looking at it the same exact way as they view Europeans, the same exact way as they view the other peoples who've been oppressing, who've been degrading, who've been looting, who've been treating us as second class, who've been acting towards us just like the Europeans have, who've carried out a slave trade up until now, still ongoing, all the way back from the 7th century. We're talking about the sub-Saharan slave trade. We're talking about the castration of so many males at the hands of the Arab peoples. We're talking about, right, today, auction blocks in places like Libya. We're talking about exchanging, right, people of African ancestry on applications, like in Saudi Arabia as they have it. We're talking about the kafala system that is currently in place at the moment. We're talking about radicalized organizations like Hamas, Hezbollah, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda Sahel, Al-Shabaab, that are destabilizing the entire African continent, right? They're doing all these for their own purposes, for the desire, as they say, to restore the caliphate, right? To restore the dignity that they had before as being the dominators of the entire region, and then afterwards of the entire world. And so we view these people, because of our experiences living in this region where they are the dominating power, where they are the majority, we have a different experience with these peoples. And so as a result of that, we cannot and we do not see eye to eye with people from the outside who don't have the same experiences with them. One, because obviously the people are on the outside. So whoever is coming to talk to them, they're coming to talk to them and they're hiding the reality on this end, right? And they're not the majority in those spaces. So obviously, if you're going into a space that you're not the majority, then most likely, you're going to be humble. You're going to calm down. You're going to relax. You're going to be easy. You're not going to really expose, all of your cards in a space like that, because you're not the majority. You don't have the ability to be able to do so. But in this region where they are the majority, this is the experiences of people of African ancestry. So what she was explaining, she was explaining a reality, and it's not a singular reality, right? This is not anything that is out of the ordinary. It's not anything. This is not a set aside situation. This is something that is the reality. Now, not every single person is like that, obviously, right? But it is something that's deeply ingrained in the society, in the psyche, in the circles, in this area of the world, that people from the outside, if you're not living it, then you could come and you could visit, you probably have a good time. But you would have to live in this region with the peoples in this region to be able to really get a good inside look into the realities of it. You could ask people of African ancestry who are living in Israel. You could ask Afro-Palestinians who are living in the Palestinian territories. You could ask those who reside in El Abid in Gaza. You could ask those who are Afro-Bedouins who are living in Israel. They would also give you that same, obviously, they would explain to you what they're experiencing at the hands of Israel, which is also not the greatest. But they also would explain to you what's happening at the hands of Palestinian people, right? The lighter skinned Palestinian people and the other Arab peoples in the region, which is very different from the reality that is being shown to the outside. So what I'm trying to do is, first of all, to help people to understand, why is our worldview, why is our outlook on this side of the world different compared to people on the other side of the world? And it simply stems from our experiences living within the societies that these people are the dominating forces within those societies. And so their relationship with us is not a cordial relationship. It's not a relationship of locking hands for the purpose of upliftment of all of the peoples. It is a dominating one, the same as it is with Europe. And so once you understand that, then you could people won't ask questions about why don't you all support Hamas? Why don't you all support Hezbollah? Why don't you all support the Houthis? They're fighting against such and such and such. So I just wanted to draw this picture to help people to be able to understand the reason why we see things very different from on this side of the world because of our experiences. And so when you look at the subsequent videos and you're looking at our worldview and how we articulate experiences on this side of the world, you would then be able to understand it from a different lens, right? Because when you're looking from a lens that is more so determined by the worldview or by the experiences or by the environment that you actually live in, as opposed to taking off them lens for a moment and putting on a different lens and looking from our viewpoint, then you'll be able to see things very, very different. And so I just wanted to get on to share those things with you all. Until then, you all have a great day. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below and continue to follow me on this journey. Until then, bye-bye.